Hello world. As you can see, we're on the FreeCodeCamp website and we're going to try to see how much of the course we can get done within an hour of time frame. So I'm going to set the timer on my phone and get started. So we start with the responsive web design certification. This is, as the website tells us, it is a 300 hours worth of course, and it contains several modules. The first one being basic HTML and HTML5, and then we go up to the claim your certification part, which is where we are going to give our details, and if we have completed everything that precedes this module, we're going to get a certificate with our name on it that can be accessed by anybody if we set the certification visibility to public. So without further ado, let's get started with the basic HTML and HTML5. As you can see, I've already completed the course to get a feel of it, but this was a while ago. So we're going to start with the very first exercise, which is say hello to HTML elements. So this is the layout that FreeCodeCamp is going to follow in the upcoming exercises as well. So on your left you have your instructions and information. So they tell you a little bit about what they are trying to achieve in this particular exercise, and they give you the instruction that is what you have to do in the code editor part in the middle pane here, and the output will be shown on the right pane over here. So it just says hello because we have hello inside the S1 tag inside the editor pane. I'm not going to be explaining everything as we go, but I'm going to be adding a little bit of comments throughout the video so that you have an idea of what's going on your screen. So for this element, for this exercise, you are supposed to change your S1 elements text to say hello world. So I'm just gonna add world here, and I'm gonna run it, which can be done in two ways. I can press run the test and it will give me whether the test is done, or either the test succeeds or fails. So it is a white check mark, which means I've done the part of which means that it has gone well and we can proceed to the next challenge. So there's another keyboard shortcut we can use to invoke the same mechanism, which is Ctrl plus Enter. So I'm going to do that, Ctrl Enter and Ctrl Enter again to move to the next one. So I'm just going to focus on the instruction part from now on. So add an h2 tag that says cat photo app to create a second HTML element below your hello world S1 element. So we're going to add h2 element, and we're going to put cat photo app inside to make the test pass, so we can move to the next challenge. It says inform with the paragraph element, so they are going to be teaching us about the p tag. So instruction here is to create a p tag below your s2 elements, which is right here, and give it a text of hello paragraph. As a convention, all HTML tags are written in lowercase, for example p and not capital P, so that's a given. Let's move to the next one. Fill in the blank with placeholder text. So the instruction here is to replace the text inside your P element with the first few words of kitty ipsum text. So we just need first few words. So P will be changed to contain kitty ipsum dollar sit admit. I think this will do. Yes. On to the next one. On comment HTML. So we have a block of text that is commented out. We can select it, press Ctrl and /. Oops, it doesn't work, it seems. So we're just gonna have to use backspace here and another one and Ctrl Enter to see. And yes, we have paused. So next one. So next one is about commenting out HTML as well. Comment out S1 element and your P element, but not your S2 element. So we remove the comments overall, but we keep the S2 element inside a comment. So see, we have not passed it. Comment out your S1 elements and a P element, but oh, we have to do just the opposite. So this will be commented this will be commented, but this will not be commented. So next is delete HTML elements. Delete your S1 elements so we can simplify your view. Here you go. On to the next one. Introduction to HTML5 elements. So these are the elements that were introduced with the newer specification of the HTML scripting language. So we're just going to follow the instruction here. Create a second P element with the following kitty Epson text. We're just going to copy it. It is asking for another P tag, so we're just going to paste it and close the P tag, and then create a main element. So here you go, main, and next only two P elements inside the main element. So these two would be inside the main element. So we can paste it here, and for formatting we can do Alt Shift F to prettify it a bit. So Control Enter, check, and it passes. So next one, add images to your website. This is teaching us about the img tag. So let's try to add an image to our website. Within the existing main element, insert an img before the existing P element. So that will be right here, and set the src attribute so that it points to https/. We could have easily copy pasted that, but I felt like typing for some reason, so here we go. Finally, don't forget to give your img element an alt attribute with applicable text. So here you go, alt for the screen readers, and image of cat upside down. So we're going to check it, and it passes. So the next one is link to external pages with anchor elements. We're gonna create anchor element and set the href to the website given. And it has asked us to set cat photos as the anchor element, and it passes. Change your external link to an internal link. External link to an external link by changing the href attribute to footer, and the text from cat photos to jump to bottom. Cat photos should be changed to jump to bottom, and href is going to be changed to internal link, which in this case is footer, which matches the okay, I think we're supposed to add id attribute here so that it can redirect to that portion of the page when we click on this link. And we're asked to remove the target blank because it is inside a page, so we don't need to set the target blank, and it passes. Okay, next an anchor element within a paragraph. So we're supposed to put a link inside some text inside some paragraph. So that's the challenge here. Next, the existing A element within the new P element. Okay, we are asked to create a new P element and nest a thing inside. Your P element should have the text view more, so it should have view more cat photos. So it has also say view more, and cat photos would be inside the link because cat photos will be linked to some other resource. So it should pass. There we go. And next is make dead links using the hash symbol. The current value of href attribute is a link that points to this. Replace the href attribute with a hash, also known as a hash symbol, to create a dead link. So free photo app, this link over here is going to be replaced with hash, so it's not going to be pointing anywhere. So that's dead link. Turn an image into a link. Place the existing image within an anchor element. Okay, we cut this out, we create anchor element, and we put the image inside the anchor element, so that when the image is clicked, it's going to be like the anchor, the link is clicked. Okay, but we're not seeing the effect that it had asked us to, because this should be we're supposed to put an empty or dead link inside so that it works properly. Now our cursor is a hand instead of a regular cursor, so that's how we know it works. Create a bulleted unordered list. So we are on to the list part. Remove the last two p elements and create an unordered list of 3 things that cats love at the bottom of the page. Remove the last two. Okay, these are gone. We're supposed to add unordered list, so that's going to be UL, and inside we're going to create some li, that is list items, and it has asked it to create 3 elements that cats love. So that's going to be catnip, next to be catnap, and cat call maybe, I don't know. Let's see, it passes. So next is ordered list, which is the same thing as the unordered list but with numbers instead of bullets like this. So create an order list of the top things cat hate the most. Top 3 things that cat hate. It's going to be order list, so OL as the tag. Inside would be elements. They would be the same old li elements. Okay, we're going to duplicate this to create things cat hate. They hate unsolicited scratches, baths, obviously. I hope I'm spelling that correctly. And the third thing would be dogs, I think. Let's format this well. Let's see, and it completes. So another exercise is to create a text field. They're teaching us about the input things. So the task is to create an input element of type text below your list. So that would be right over here, and input type text. I don't think I need to put this. Okay, it works. It works. Next is to add placeholder text to a text field. So it is a simple attribute that we have to add inside the input thing. So set the placeholder value of text input to cat photo URL. So this is what we're going to use instead of the thing we copied earlier. So test, and it passes. This is teaching us about form element. Create a form element. Nest the existing input element inside a form element and assign this URL to the action attribute of the form element. So we're going to cut the input that we have. We're going to create a form element, and we're going to paste the input thing. We're going to prettify it a bit, and we're going to put the action as suggested by the exercise. So this is going to be the action. So that's all they need. Now we're going to add a submit button to the form. So I think they're going to ask us to do this button. It'll have submit as its text, and this is going to be of type submit, and that's it. Use HTML5 to require a field. We have to mark our fields as required. So make your text input a required field. We do that by adding an attribute with no values as like that. Create a set of radio buttons. So we're going to have to add a pair of radio buttons to your form. It's nested in its own label element. One should have the option of indoor and the other should have the option of outdoor. Both should share the name attribute of indoor outdoor to create a radio group. So okay, we're going to do that above the submit button. It has advised us to wrap our radio buttons inside the label element. So we're going to do that. What label does is it provides a label for any input field that we want, and we have to we can place this for attribute to let it know which element which input are we trying to add label for. So we're going to do that next. First we type out the input thing. It has asked for us for a couple of these, so a pair of radio buttons, so 2 radio buttons. We're gonna add the type as radio and name as indoor, outdoor, and they're gonna have separate ID for the for thing to work. So the first one is gonna be indoor and the second one is gonna be outdoor. This is gonna be for indoor and this is the label for outdoor. And normally radio, we put the label for radio after the radio button, so this is gonna say indoor and this is gonna say outdoor. I'm gonna try to submit this and it is done. So the next one is create a set of checkboxes. Add to your form a set of 3 checkboxes. Each checkbox should be nested within its own label element. All 3 should say the same name attribute of personality. So we're gonna do that right away. One, 2, 3. This is gonna be for personalities of the cat. So we're gonna put loving, weird, and annoying here, and we're gonna add ID attributes that matches the fur attributes value. So this is gonna say weird, this is gonna say annoying, and all 3 of them are gonna have the same name of personality, and these are all gonna be of the type checkbox. And we're not gonna need the closing tag. I don't know why I keep typing that. And we're gonna say loving, we're gonna say weird, we're gonna say annoying. We're gonna check it and it passes. So next is to give each of the radio and checkbox inputs the value attribute. Use the input label text in lowercase as the value for the attribute. Okay, so we're gonna add value to all of these inputs. There are quite a lot, that seems. So these are the inputs that we want to add the attribute value to, and it's gonna have this thing but in lowercase as the instruction said. So lowercase indoor, lowercase outdoor, lowercase loving, lowercase lazy, and lowercase energetic. Let's see, it passes. Next one is to check radio buttons and checkboxes by default. So we're gonna, and right now we have to get some interaction done to see the changes in the input checkboxes and radio, but we can make some of these or all of these or any of these checked or selected by default when the page loads, and we do that by using the checked attribute. So see the first of your radio buttons and the first of your checkboxes to be both checked by default. So first of the radio would be indoor, so we put checked over there, and it is selected when the page loads. So similarly in loving, we're going to be checking that as well, because it says the first elements inside the. Okay, we're in next nest many elements within a single div elements. They're teaching us about the organization. So nest your things cat love and top 3 cats head lists within a single div. So these things are gonna go inside a div. Div is short for division, and it is used to collect anything inside it. We are on the declare the doctype of an HTML element. So this is a fairly simple one. So we just type doctype and HTML, which is standard for the newest version of HTML. So this will, oh, there's more instruction. Your code should include the doctype HTML tag. That is done. There should be one HTML element, which is going to be this. I don't know why it says checked over here. The HTML tag should wrap around one h1 element. So one h1 element, literally, and we prettify it and we submit this. Alright, so next one is define the head and body of an HTML document. So we're just gonna have to put this title inside head because that's where they belong. Head contains all the meta information inside your page, like the title, style tags, links to your CSS, and other meta properties. Body has what we see on the page, the content. So we're going to put all the paragraphs and the h1s inside it, and it passes. Next exercise is to change the color of text. It has asked us to put some inline styling. So change your S2 element style so that its text color is red. So we're gonna find where the S2 is right here. We're gonna add some style and we're gonna put the color declarative inside it, and we're gonna paint it red. It's done. Use CSS selectors to style elements. So we're going to be using the style tags, and inside it we're going to be writing actual CSS code that is different from the inline one that we saw earlier, as in this is the better way to do it. So delete your S2 element style attribute only, and we're going to have to create a style block. And okay, we're gonna have to style the S2 elements. We're gonna have to make them blue. And like that, we didn't even notice, but we have already finished the first part of this course, basic HTML and HTML5, and we're on to the basic CSS course. We just did the change the color of text and CSS selectors to style elements. Yeah, we just did that. Okay, we're gonna be opening the next item here, which is style multiple elements with CSS class. So we're gonna have to do your S2 elements should be red, S2 should be red, S2 elements should have red text. Your first P element should be red. I think it's already done. No, your first P element should be red. So we give the class name that we just styled with the color red so that it can inherit the properties from here. So okay, we can go to the next one now. Change the font size of an element. H1 font size 30px. It will say 30px as the font size for the H1 elements all over the page, but we generally have one H1, so that's not going to be a problem. So instructions are to that inside the same style tag that contains your red text class, create an entry for P elements. So that looks like this, bare bones, and set the font size to 16 px, and it's done. Set the font family of an element. Make all your P elements use the monospace fonts. P elements using the font family of monospace font. Import a Google font. Import the Lobster font to your web page. So that's done by this over here. No, we put it before the style. so that way the lobster font is loaded, so we can just use it now. Then use an element selector to set lobster as the font family for your S2 element. So for all the S2s in the page, we're gonna say the font family to be lobster. Specify how fonts should degrade. So as you can see here, this is going to try to get Helvetica first and foremost. If it doesn't get that, it's going to load any sans serif font on the user's computer. So we're going to, this is a challenge about that. To begin, apply the monospace font to the S2 elements. So that it has now two fonts, lobster and monospace. So lobster as the first priority. If it doesn't load, then load monospace. In the last challenge, you imported the lobster font using the link tag. Now to comment out that import of the lobster font, okay, we're gonna have to see how it degrades. The cat photo app, as you can see, now it's using lobster, now it is not. And if you have lobster font installed on a computer, you won't see the degradation because your browser is able to. Okay, this is done. Next one is size your images. Create a class named smaller image and use it to resize the image so it is only 100 pixels wide. I had already done it, so the code is loading, but as you can see, this is the part we have to edit. Create a class named thick green border. This class should add a 10px solid green border around an STM element. Apply the classes to your cat photo. So we're gonna create a thick green border with border properties that should have 10px of width, solid, and green. So this is a shorthand way of doing that. I think this should work, but we'll also have to add this class as per the instruction to the cat image. Okay, it's complete. Add rounded corners with border radius. I think. Okay, you can specify border radius with pixels. Give your cat photo a border radius of 10 pixels. Cat photo uses this one, this class, but it doesn't really fit the class name. This silence allows for multiple possible solutions. For example, made border radius to either the thicker border or small image. I'm going to use edit to a smaller image so that. No, I'm going to edit to border thing because it is a border property after all. Border radius is going to be 10px. Give your cat photo border radius of 50%. Border radius of 50% so that it will be a circle. Nice. Give a background color to a div element. Create a class named silver background with the background color of silver. Silver background. Background color of silver. We're going to have to add the same class to the div element as per the instruction. Okay, it is working. Basic CSS is also done, as you can see. The next challenge is, oh, I think I was mistaken. We're going to go back, set the ID of an element. So give a form element ID of cat photo form. Form element with the ID of cat photo form. This is done. Use an ID attribute to style an element. Try giving your form, which now has the ID attribute of cat photo form, a green background. So we're gonna use this class name, put a dot before the CSS selector, and green background. Background color of green. Cat photo form. Background color of green cat photo form. did we not? Yeah, we gave it the ID of cat photo from, but we use the class selector, so it's not gonna work obviously, so we're gonna have to change it. But yes, it says 100% complete. It got me confused earlier, but it is because I've already completed the course, and it's always gonna say 100% no matter which portion of the challenge we are in. So next challenge is to adjust the padding of an element. Change the padding of your blue box to match that of your red box. Blue and red must have same padding, so it has 20, so we're gonna copy that over to blue box, and we're done. Adjust the margin of an element. Change the margin of the blue box to match that of the red box, so it's gonna be the same thing. It's 20 pixel, and it's done. Add a negative margin to an element. This is interesting. Try to set the margin to a negative value, like the one for the red box. It has a negative margin of 15 px. Change the margin of the blue box to minus 15 px and see what happens. It fills all the area that is given to it, all the area that it could fit, and some more, I think. Okay, on to the next one. A different padding to each side of an element. So this is I think teaching us about the shorthands. Padding of 40 px on is keep the blue box. We're going to manipulate this one. We're going to add the padding property. 40 px on the top. To the right is 20 px. Then to the bottom is 20 px, and to the left is 40 px again. So this should work, and it's done. Keep the blue box margin same thing, but with margin 40 px, 20 px, 20 px, 40 px. Okay, use clockwise notation to give the blue box class of padding of. This is the same thing, but they're teaching the shorthand now, so previous solutions still work. But yeah, this is basically asking for the shorthand to be used. Top 20 px, bottom 20 px left, 20 px right, 20 px bottom, and 40 px at the. That's done. Use clockwise notation to specify the margin of an element. So same thing, blue box margin 40 px on top, right is 20 px, bottom is 20 px, and left is 40 px. In this one, we are going to use attribute selectors to style elements. So the classes IDs and element tags are not the only way to select any given part of the HTML document. So we're going to use the type attribute selector and give checkboxes in cat photo app a top margin of 10 px and bottom margin of 15 px. So type of checkboxes, what do they? Yeah, they can be type of checkbox. I feel dumb. Anywho, we're gonna add margins. Top margin of 10 px, right and bottom are not. I think this should work. Yes. Understand absolute versus relative units. Add a padding property to the element with the class redbox and set it to 1.5 em. Em differ from px as em are more flexible and px are not. Px are rigid, and if you're doing responsive web design, em, rem, and other ways to give responsive measurements to our elements are going to be the best option. So next is to style the HTML body element, which is going to use a body tag, body selector, and background color of black. And there we go. Inherit styles from the body element. First create h1 element. H1 element that says hello world. Then let's give all elements on your page the color of green by adding color green to your body. Okay, not a great idea, but for the purpose of the challenge, green. There we go. Finally, give a body element the font family of monospace. Font family monospace by adding font family monospace. Okay, that's done. I'm sorry. Next is to prioritize one style over another. Create a CSS class named pink text. This gives the elements the color pink. Keep your h1 element the class of pink text. That's done. Override styles in subsequent CSS. Okay, it's a big instruction right here. Create an additional CSS class called blue text. Blue text. I suppose it's gonna be this. Okay, yeah. Below your pink text declaration, which is below. Okay, apply the blue text class to your S1 element. Blue text. Let's see which wins. Blue wins because it is lower in the style tag. Whichever one comes the latter wins if they are same level of targeting. So both are targeting classes, so this is gonna win because it's at the bottom. Let's check it's complete. Next is override class declarations by styling ID attributes. So IDs are going to have higher preference than the class attribute because a lot of elements can have the same class, but ID is very unique to a particular piece. So give your S1 elements the ID attribute of orange text. ID, I want to put it before class because it is more important. Orange text, and I suppose I'm going to have to add orange text here. Color orange, obviously. Okay, let's check it. It's done. Override class declarations with inline styles. So even ID is nothing compared to the inline styles, which always wins because they are applied specifically to the element inside the HTML, so they are regarded as very important. So we're gonna leave the blue text and pink text class as 7 elements. Use an element because we are supposed to give it the white color. And it's done. Override all other styles by using important. So let's set the keyword important to your pink text. If we use important like this, even though precedence of the ID selector is higher, this class selector is going to win because it has the important keyword built in. Use hex code for specific colors. Replace the word black in our body elements background color with this hex code. So they are teaching us about using hex code, which is 6 digits of numbers and letters up to F, and they represent colors. Use hex code to mix colors. So replace the colors codes in our style elements with their correct hex codes. Red text is gonna be FF0000. Green text is gonna be 00FF00. Dots of blue is gonna be 1E90FF, and orange text is gonna be FF A500. So I think this would work. Yes. Use abbreviated hex code. So instead of this, because it is 3 pairs of zeros, we can eliminate 1 zero from each pair, and it'll still make sense to our browsers. So obviously it is not red. For red we have to use FOO. For fuchsia we have to use FOF, and cyan is OFF, and green text is apparently OF0 because this is R, red, green and blue. Okay, that's also done. Use RGB values to color elements. So we're going to use this function looking thing RGB and provide red, green and blue values to this function looking thing. So let's replace the hex code in our body elements background color with the RGB value for RGB for black. So it's gonna be black, but we're gonna use the RGB function type thing, and for black we use 0 values, and that's done. Use RGB to mix colors, so we're gonna have to replace these with this. So I'm just gonna do a bit of sneaky little thing, RGB, and I'm gonna keep them empty for now. I could just copy paste this off of there, but let's see. It mustn't be that time consuming. Orchid is 218, 112, 214. Sienna is 160, 82, 45. And blue is RGB, so blue is the third value. RG blue must be this. Okay, and it works. Use CSS variables to change several elements at once. In this exercise, they're trying to make us use this thing right here, but this is not a too challenging exercise because it is an introduction to the variables. So in the penguin class, change the black value to gray. In the penguin, sorry. In the penguin class, change the black value to gray, and gray value to white, and yellow value to orange. So we can see how penguin changes colors over here. Create a custom CSS variable. In the penguin class, create a variable named penguin skin. We're going to use penguin skin and give it a value of gray. That's it. Apply the penguin skin variable to the background property of the penguin top. So we use that like this. Penguin property of penguin top, penguin bottom, right hand and left hand classes. So we're gonna have to do a bunch of copy pasting for the same thing. And it's done. Next is to attach a fallback value to a CSS variable. We are using the variable, but if this is undefined or this is not found for some reason, we can set a fallback. Fallback is in this case, background. For background, we're using the penguin skin, which is going to be black color. But if that, for some reason, isn't accessible at the moment, we can pass a second a color option, which will be the default fallback option if the penguin skin variable is not found. So the fixed type will follow the background. We're gonna have to add black, penguin top and penguin bottom. So that's it. Penguin skin was already black, so I don't know why we're doing this. Anyways, it's done. And the next is improve compatibility with browser fallbacks. It looks like a variable is being used to set the foreground color of the redbox class. Redbox class foreground background color. Yes, it is variable is being used. So let's improve our browser compatibility by adding another background declaration right before the existing declaration and set its value to red. If that variable thing is not supported by the browser will use this. So that's it. Inherit CSS variables. Define a variable named penguin belly in the root thing. So root, any variable we declare here will be passed down to every element inside the DOM tree, so to speak. So it is beneficial in that manner. Change a variable for a specific area. Change the value of penguin belly to white in the penguin class. Oh, I think I misread the instructions. Change the value of penguin belly to white in penguin class over here. Sorry. penguin belly should be white, and we're done. Use of media query to change the variables, so we can also change the variables according to the size of the screen people are on. So we can modify the penguin size thing for smaller screens which are smaller than 350 px in width. So penguin size is going to be 200 pixel in that case, and penguin skin is going to be black in that case. So we can see this in action by, yes, when we resize the people to be smaller than 350 px as we declared here, it's going to take in these values. Penguin is going to be smaller and its skin is going to be black instead of gray, as we can see. Submit, and it's done. And the next one is creating visual balance using the text line property. Now we have arrived at the applied visual design course of the responsive web design course. So this is a module inside it. So I've already done 5 of them, but we're going to redo them again, and we're going to see how far we can go within an hour. It has been 45 minutes, so we still have 15 more minutes to go. My speed might falter a bit when we get to the part where the exercise is going to be a new thing for me, but that's okay. So this one is create visual balance using the text line property. So align the S4 text which says Google to the center. S4, it is asking us to add a style rule to make the Google text appear on the center. So it's going to be text align center. And there's a second instruction, then just divide the paragraph tag and it's done. Add a width property to the entire card and set it to an absolute value of 245 pixel. Use the full card class to select the element full card. Inside the full card, we're supposed to add a width property which is going to limit the overall width of the card to 245 pixels, and it's done. We can see the effect over here. Add a height property to the S4 tag and set it to 25 px. H4, we're gonna have to set the height to 25 px. So it increased a bit. We can see it in action. Yeah, it says 25. I put in 35 earlier. You may need to be at least 100% zoom to pass the test on this channel. Use the strong tag to make text bold. So they are asking us to use the strong tag around the Stanford University text inside the P tag. Stanford University is over here. We're going to cut it out and we're going to create a strong element, and we're going to paste in the thing over here. Stanford University. This would work. Run all the tests and we can go to the next challenge. Next one is to use the U tag to underline text. Wrap the U tag only around the PSD students. PSD students, we need to put in U tag inside the U tag. So this is the U tag, and we're going to put the text back in and see what happens over here. Yes, we get the nice underline over here, and we can submit it. Go to the next challenge. Use the M tag to italicize text. We'll wrap an M tag around the contents of the paragraph tag to give it emphasis. Okay, whatever is inside the P tag, we're gonna put it inside the M tag, and we're gonna submit. We can see the effect right here. Everything inside the P tag is italicized as an emphasis style. Use the S tag to strike through text. Wrap the S tag around the Google inside the H4. Inside the H4, the Google, we want to add the yes tag which will create a strike through effect through the text. Google will be crossed out like this, and then add the word alphabet beside it, because Google is now part of alphabet. Makes sense. And it's done. Create a horizontal line using the HR elements. Add an HR element underneath the H4, which contains the card title. Okay, HR. Note, in HTML, HR is a self-closing tag and therefore doesn't need a separate closing tag. Well said. And it appears like this line over here. It's just the background color property of text. To make the text stand out more, adjust the background color of the S4 element to the given RGBA value. Also for the S4, remove the height property and add padding of. We're going to do the padding thing first, and we're going to add the background color to RGBA, and the values should be 45, 45, 45, 0.1. The last thing that we see, the A portion of this, is explained here, which is alpha, or level of opacity. So this is the opacity level, as we can see in the background over here. If we change it to 9, it's going to be much darker. 0, and we won't see it, and this is the lowest setting. Or we can probably do this. No? Okay. Start with 0.1 up to the 1, which means it is fully solid. 0.1 now, as the exercise asked us to do, and we submitted it. Next is to adjust the size of a header versus a paragraph tag. To make the heading significantly larger than the paragraph, change the font size of the ASCII tag to 27 pixels font size. The reason being the paragraph text and the headlines, they have the same font size right now. If we increase it, it will be visibly distinguished from the rest of the content, and it will look nicer. Add a box shadow to a card-like element. The element now has an ID of thumbnail. With the selector, use the example CSS values above to place a box shadow to the card. So card has the ID of thumbnail, it says. So thumbnail, it's an ID, so it's going to be starting with the hash symbol. Thumbnail, and inside we're going to put the box shadow. It looks nice. If you're wondering about what these things mean, is explained here. The box shadow property applies one or more shadows to an element. The box shadow property takes values for offset X, how far to push the shadow horizontally from the element, offset Y, how far to push the shadow vertically from the element. So as we can see, it is pushing the shadow downwards more, and that is being caused by this thing. Blur radius is 20 pixels, means this also defines how big a shadow is going to be. If we put in 200 pixels, okay, it's not going to have much effect. If we do 100 pixels, it's going to increase the size, and we can hopefully do 90 pixels. So play around with that. You might see how it affects your front-end designs. So decrease the opacity of an element. Set the opacity of the anchor tags to 0.7 using links class to select them. Opacity to 0.7. Oh, you can see the changes here. Right now they are dark black, and after the change they are grays, which is not a good practice in the real world. Use the text transform property to make text uppercase. So transform the text of the S4 to be uppercase using the text transform property. So we use text transform uppercase like this, and we prettify it, and we save it, and we submit it. Go to the next challenge. Set the font size for multiple heading elements. In the style tag, set the font size of the H1, H2, S3, S4, S5, and S6. So it's going to be this is going to be done manually for now. I think they're going to teach us about the variables in this specific use case next. So H1 would be font size 68 px. I'm just going to duplicate this. So okay, 68, and we go down from there, 52 pix and 40 pixels and 32 pixels and 21 pixels and 14 pixels. That should work. That should be all that they asked us for, and it's done. Set the font weight for multiple heading elements. You set the font size of each heading tag in the last challenge. You will adjust the font weight. So we're going to edit the font weight property. Font weight of, these are varying font weights, so I'm going to start with the H1, keep it to 800, and then it's going to be 600 as per the instructions, then 500, 400, 300, and finally 200. We prettify it, we submit it, and it's done. Next one is set the font size of paragraph text. Font size is 10 px right now, so we're gonna have to make it 16 px to make it more visible. That's done. Set the line height of paragraphs. We're gonna have to set the line height to 25 pixels, and it's done. Adjust the hover state of an anchor tag. What happens when we hover over an element? So when you hover over the anchor tags, we're gonna color should be blue, as it says. So hover blue, that's done. Change an element's relative position. Change the position of the S2 to relative. Let's see what happens when we do that. Position is relative, and use a CSS offset to move it 15 pixels away from the top of where it sits in the normal flow. 15 pixels away from the top, so they just moved, as you can see. And it's done. Move a relatively positioned element with CSS offset. Use CSS offset to move the S2 15 px to the right and 10 pixels up. So from bottom we have to be 10 pixels up, and to the right, meaning from the left, it has to be offset 15 px. That's done. Lock an element to its parent with absolute positioning. So lock the search bar elements to the top right of its section parent by declaring its position as absolute. So if we make its position absolute, what happens is it breaks from the normal flow of the HTML. Give it top and right opposites of 50 pixels each. Okay, as we can see, it moved places. Lock an element to the browser window with fixed positioning. The navigation bar in the code is labeled with an ID of navbar. Change its position to fixed. and offset it's 0 pixel from the top, so it will be 0, and 0 pixel from the left will be 0 as well. As we can see, it got stuck to the top of the page. Push elements left or right with the float property. The given markup would work well as two-column layout with the section and aside elements next to each other. Give the left item a float to the left. Left should be float to the left, and right item float to the right. This is the old school way of doing layouts. There we go, and it's done. Change the position of overlapping elements with the G-index property. Edit G-index property to the element with the class name of first and the red rectangle, and set it to a value of 2 so it covers the other element, which is blue rectangle. So we give it a G-index property higher than the one that is directly below it. So it comes to the top, as you can see in the output over here, and it's done. Center an element horizontally using the margin property. Center the div of the page by adding a margin property with the value of auto. Div's margin of auto, that will take it to the center. That was simple enough. Learn about complementary colors. Color theory. Okay, as we can see, the time has elapsed past 60 minutes, which was the target we set in the beginning of this walkthrough speedrun kind of thing. And I want to touch a few more things which are available here. If you're doing the course from the start, I advise you go to get help and watch a video section of each challenge if you get stuck, or if you want to understand it in a deeper level, because these are created with Scrimba, which lets you do different courses like these, and these are interactive
Complementary
in a way
colors are
that
often used when
you can edit the code. The person creating the tutorial is showing you, so you can, when they say something like if you say the width to 100 pixel, it will be 100 pixel. You can test it out. You can change the thing to 150 and it will reflect in the little browser that they give you, and you can resume the
using colors
course
for
like
websites
nothing
or any kind
happened.
of.
So that's a new thing that I noticed inside the FreeCodeCamp thing.